Welcome to NFL Live, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. NFL Divisional Weekend is almost upon us. We're down to just 8 teams vying for the Lombardi Trophy. We'll get to all of it, all these games in the next 60 minutes. But here on NFL Live, we start the day with some breaking news. And for this one, the Ravens are making changes. Offensive coordinator Greg Roman is stepping down. We get right to Adam Schefter. What do we know here, Adam?
Not a big surprise here, Laura. I think a lot of people thought it would go this way. The Ravens offense struggled this year. I think both sides had a mutual interest in exploring other avenues. And so Greg Roman stepping away. The Ravens are making a change. They are one of 10 teams in the market for a new offensive coordinator. And this offense struggled as the season went on. Yes, Lamar Jackson was gone, but no, the offense did not perform the way it had in recent years when it had been a top shelf rushing offense. And so I think the Ravens were looking for a different look. I think Greg Roman was looking for a different experience. The two sides come together. They go their own ways. Now Baltimore is in the market for a new OC.
More from Adam throughout the show. And the Ravens addressed the media earlier this afternoon. Head coach John Harbaugh explained how this decision will affect Lamar Jackson's future with the team. Listen to this.
100%, 200%. There's no question about it. Lamar Jackson is our quarterback. I mean, he's been our quarterback. Everything we've done in terms of building our offense and building our team, how we think in terms of people and put people around him, is based on this incredible young man and his talent, his ability, and his competitiveness. And Greg's a great coach, and he did the best he could every single week, every single day. Great family, another great competitor. So, we leave that era kind of. We move into the next era now in terms of our offense, and I did ask Lamar about it, and he will be involved in it. I'll keep him abreast of what's going on, and I'm sure he'll have some input along the way.
Okay, so just so everyone hears that again, you hear Harbaugh there saying that Lamar Jackson will have a say in who they hire as the offensive coordinator. How do you think that affects his ongoing contract negotiations, Adam?
Listen, I think they made it very clear today, John Harbaugh, the Ravens head coach, and the general manager, Eric DeCosta, that they're not planning on moving on from Lamar Jackson, that they do want to restart contract talks and try to work out a long-term deal. They were highly complimentary today of Lamar Jackson. They didn't show any signs that they wanted to or were willing to move on from him. You heard John Harbaugh there say he wants to include Lamar Jackson in the search for a new offensive coordinator, take his input, and therefore Lamar would be comfortable with the offensive coordinator they choose. They're going to try everything they can to entice him to sign that long-term contract that they were unable to agree on last offseason leading into the regular season. So the signs today out of Baltimore were very clear. The Ravens made it known that they want Lamar back. They want to figure out a way to get that long-term deal done, and they will include him in that search for a new OC.
More coaching news is coming. Adam's going to hang tight for that. And, it is interesting as we bring in Dan Orlovsky, Marcus Spears, and Keyshawn Johnson, how in today's day and age, a lot of players, especially quarterbacks, looking for more ownership on the team. And you hear that's the direction that the Ravens are coming out and saying. But let's go back to moving on from Greg Roman. Dan, does the move make sense to you?
Yeah, it was needed in Baltimore. And this is probably one of the biggest offseason news and moves that we will have in the NFL is who's going to be the next guy. Two things could be true. One, Greg Roman in Baltimore had one of the best, if not the best, run game designs and productive offenses in the NFL. The second truth is their pass game never caught up to that run game. And that's really why this move was necessary. The Baltimore Ravens were never going to take that next step, and Marcus said it 2 years ago, unless the pass game evolved. As great as their multiple tight end package was and Lamar running this offense, the pass game never caught up, and it has to for them to contend in the AFC.
The interesting thing about this, no matter who the offensive coordinator is going to be, Dan, and Greg Roman did a good job when he was given the keys to the car, and then eventually that car ran out of gas. They got to go get a big-time wide receiver, no matter who's calling plays. I don't care if you implement the same system that you already have or you completely change it. And let me ask you this, Dan, because you would know, you as a quarterback, could a guy like T. Martin, who's on the staff already, who called plays in college, played the quarterback position, and has a really good relationship with Lamar Jackson, be kind of the passing game coordinator, maybe? Because John Harbaugh likes to give guys with the first opportunity chances to do things and bring guys in. I wonder if they're thinking inside the building like that.
Yeah, if he's got the relationship, it makes a lot of sense. I always like one coordinator, but if they think that that's what's necessary to go to the next level, I can see that for sure.
Yeah, we'll throw out some more suggestions too here, T. It's a good question to ask. Marcus, what do you think?
Well, I mean, Dan really alluded to it, and I've been screaming it for a long time that they just needed to evolve. They needed more nuance, and no need to reiterate that. I think a name, if a guy that is fine with not making a head coaching move, I think a name should be Eric Bieniemy. It's been a creative offense with Patrick Mahomes. It's been an offense where you can implement a lot of the run game that we've seen already in Baltimore, but also a guy that can evolve the passing game because he's been around Andy Reid and under that tutelage. I think that would be a name I would explore if I was the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay, so names are going to get thrown out.
Yeah.
I want to know this, though, Dan. What type of offense do you think makes sense for Lamar Jackson, assuming that he's still there with the way that they are now? The other thing, too, hoping that they get a big-time wide receiver in the fold.
I honestly think a pro-style offense. I think that's what Lamar's best at. We pigeonhole Lamar to just being this run-only centric quarterback or run-dominant. Lamar's at its best when he runs a pro-style offense. That's what he ran in college. I'll throw out 5 names. 1, Bobby Slowick, who's the passing game coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. Imagine him in that offense. Number 2, Brian Johnson, who's the quarterback coach in the Philadelphia Eagles. That is a pro-style offense with that wrinkle of quarterback run. And then I'll throw out Jeff Levy, who's a college football coach, offensive coordinator at Oklahoma. Josh Gaddis, who's the offensive coordinator at Miami, but he was at Michigan. Imagine the Harbaugh family ties. And then Tommy Rees at Notre Dame. I think all 3 of those guys. And the big thing is this: get the passing game to be married and matched at the same level as their run game.
You know, Levy's interesting to me because he obviously had a lot of success at Ole Miss as well. That was a high-powered offense.
Right.
These are college offenses, but still. And then Levy has actually been tied to Alabama, so maybe there's a little battle there between Nick Saban and the Ravens if they ended up going down that path. Let's get to more breaking news. Tampa Bay will be looking for a new offensive coordinator. And Adam, it was time to move on from Byron Leftwich. Tell us a little bit more about what happened here.
Well, think about this. This offense really struggled this year. Hard to blame it all on Byron Leftwich. The offensive line struggled in pass protection. They couldn't run the football. And if you think back to 1 year ago, Byron Leftwich was a finalist for the head coaching job in Jacksonville. They decide to go with Doug Peterson. Leftwich returns to Tampa. The offense never seemed to be able to get on track this season. Run game, non-existent. Pass pro, not great. And so Tampa decides to do a major shakeup, an overhaul of its offensive coaching staff, and basically lets go of the entire offensive coaching staff today, led by Byron Leftwich, who again, a year ago, was mentioned as a potential head coach candidate. And so I think there's a lesson there, right? If you get a chance to get a head coaching job, you don't want to waste too many of these opportunities because you never know when they do come along. And so now Byron Leftwich is looking for work at a time where there are 10 teams with offensive coordinator openings, and he just went through a rough year. The team went through a rough year. Neither side comes out better for it.
Yeah, you know, all of us are putting Brady on all these other teams. Any sense on how this move may affect Tom Brady's future with the Bucs potentially?
I don't think it has any bearing on Tom's future in Tampa. That's my belief. I think Tom Brady has to come to the conclusion of whether or not he wants to play again. We heard today the Baltimore Ravens come out and say Lamar is going to be involved in our search for a new offensive coordinator. Now, Tampa didn't come out and talk, but I don't imagine that their message would have been, we're going to include Tom Brady in our search for a new offensive coordinator. 2 different tones at 2 different buildings with 2 offensive coordinator changes. Tom has to decide whether or not he wants to play, and then if he does want to play, where he wants to play, and whether he wants to play for a team that he believes is capable of winning. So right now, again, there are other things that Tom Brady is far more concerned about than who's going to be the offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
More coaching news to get to in just a bit, so Adam's sticking around for that. Marcus, let's stick with this right now. What do you think about them moving on from Leftwich in Tampa?
Yeah, I mean, I think Schefter alluded to it. Productivity is a big deal, but also creativity. And this offense was stagnant. And to his point, it was some things that transpired that was absolutely out of Byron Leftwich's hands, especially with your offensive line being depleted and not coming back with the same type of guys. So, you know, I think this is a move forward for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This may be one of those course resets. I'm of the mind that Tom Brady won't be in Tampa. I think he'll be retiring. I know a lot of people differ in that, but I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are resetting a course now.